Okay, I would like to proceed, and this will be the second part of panel number 2, our last panel for today, and then we'll have some more panels tomorrow. I would like to give the floor now to my colleague, Ms. Amandine Moignard, who is the WAPES project manager, and she will be moderating this session with ILO Türkiye and İŞKUR of Turkey. Thank you.
Merci, Nicole.
Thank you, Nicole. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here at the end of the day. I think we had lots of returning discussions, speeches, and I would like to introduce you Mr. Emre Yıldız and Luis Pinedo Caro. Emre Yıldız is a junior employment expert at İŞKUR at Foreign Relations and Projects Department, and he is one of the first experts trained in Turkey. He is quite young, and he is working on the coordination of European Union's affairs, and I'm going to leave him the floor so that he can share with us his presentation on NEET Pro.
Okay, does it work? Okay. Dear colleagues of WAPES and distinguished colleagues of Public Employment Services, we would like to welcome you on behalf of Turkish Employment Agency. It's a pleasure for us to host you in Antalya in Turkey. I will take the advantage of being one of the latest speakers, and I will go a bit fast. Please don't worry. So what we will talk about now, we will talk about NEET Pro, one of the most comprehensive program of Turkey addressing needs. So let's look at the content of my presentation. Firstly, we will talk about, briefly of course, a NEET concept. Then we will move on to NEET data, and after we will talk about I will mention you about the NEET Pro program. So here you see the chart. This is extracted from the ETF publication. You see below the citation. By the way, we would like to thank the colleagues from ETF. We use this chart frequently to tell about to express the definition of the needs in more technical way, including the labor market terminology. But here, what I want to emphasize is that these two challenges, one is the heterogeneity of needs, and also, they are hard to reach. The needs are needs. We call it needs, but it consists of many subgroups. So, as cited in the EU publications, one size doesn't fit all the needs. So, while designing all the programs, we should consider all these subgroups and the heterogeneity of needs. This was one of the first challenge while we are talking about needs. And the second challenge is, of course, the needs are hard to reach groups, because we can consider this in two ways. The first is the physically, and the second is the communicationally. Most of the needs are inactive, so they don't come to PES buildings, they don't register to PES, so they are hard to reach in physical ways. So in the communicational way, they are also hard to reach, because we cannot transfer our messages to them, or even if we can transfer our messages to them, they cannot receive in a proper way. So that causes some problems, communicational problems between the institutions and also needs. That was the second challenge. So these two challenges makes the needs as a global phenomenon and also global issue that we are still talking on it, and that's why we gathered together. So let's continue with the data. This is the global need circle, as I called it. This is the OECD data. You almost know, you all almost know about the data and the rates of need in the global perspective. Here I would like to focus on that. You see that in some countries like Italy, Mexico, Turkey, and also I didn't add here, but the South Africa, Brazil are getting the biggest share of NEETs, getting the biggest share of this circle, while some countries getting the least share. So this lead us to that. It's not needed to rediscover America. While there are some best practices and some countries who are successful in dealing with NEETs, so let's share this. Let's increase the adaptable policy measures platforms, so that we can handle this NEET issue as globally. So while talking about the figures, here you see, I'll just mention to you about our field research on NEETs that we conducted within NEET Pro. We conducted field research in 15 cities of Turkey. It was the 3 phases research. The first phase is the qualitative side of this, qualitative aspect of dimension of this research. We conducted focus group meetings in 16 provinces, and we talked to NEETs and also local partners. We reached more than 400 partners and NEETs. We gathered their opinion about the issue. And the second phase is the field survey. This is the quantitative side of the research. Almost 5,000 NEETs were surveyed during our field survey. So the third and the last phase was the roundtable discussions. We discussed our main findings with partners, and we concluded to policy suggestions. What we found here is, as the first, I would like to make an methodological explanation. This research was based on the 2021 Turkstat microdata. Of course, since 2021, there is a serious increasing of NEET rates. You will see here. But of course, to conduct this research, we had to take a baseline. So this was the 2021. Here you see we have almost 5 million NEETs, and also only the 30% of these NEETs are active. So this leads us to think about the activation policies, activation measures, active labor market policies. And also almost the 30%, only the 30% of these 5 million NEETs are men, the rest is women. So this also, this finding leads us to maybe thinking about the care economy and also inactivity of women. This is one of the most important challenges in Turkey. The inactivity of women. This also reflects to and also increases the number of NEETs in Turkey. So we also asked young people if they are ready to get a job. Only 37% of NEETs stated their readiness. The rest needed some additional training or experience to get a job. So we can consider that, and also this finding leads us to transition measures like school to work transition or inactivity to work transition. So the transition policies are so critical to increase the readiness of young people. And also we asked young people if they are aware of supports addressing young people. Only the 22% of young people stated they are aware of these supports. So this finding leads us also to the communication issue. Maybe we should change about the ways we communicate with them, and both in methodological way, the communication channels, and also the content should be redesigned. And also we should also think about the supports itself. For example, the supports we provide to young people may not meet their needs. So we are still thinking on these findings to redesign our programs and also the next programs. And also we asked young people who wants to be an entrepreneur, if they want to be an entrepreneur. 61% of young people want to be an entrepreneur, but this finding may be a bit misleading because most of the young people even don't know even don't have any idea of being entrepreneur. They are just want to work in a more flexible ways. But these findings also leads us to discuss about social entrepreneurship, because we think that NEETs may help NEETs. So it's like peers helps their peers. So this is our findings. Of course, these are the summary of our findings. We have a very comprehensive report on this research. So this is the current state of the issue. So what we are doing, addressing NEETs and the NEET issue in Turkey, it's the NEET Pro labor market support program for NEETs. The aim of this program is increasing the employability and labor force participation of NEETs with comprehensive and holistic labor market support. The target groups are both the NEETs and also the İŞKUR staff, our own institutional staff. This is an EU and Turkey co-financed program, by the way. It has two main components. One is the grant scheme that we finance the projects of local authorities, and also the second is the technical assistance. That the aim of the technical assistance is we are increasing our own capacity to better serve young people. By the way, while designing NEET Pro, we studied many youth guarantee schemes of the countries. So we try to adapt best practices to our country. So you will see later, we are trying within NEET Pro very new measures to attract young people. So here is the grant scheme. Within the grant scheme now, it has just started. It was the 1st of August. We are financing 58 grant projects within the grant scheme. The projects will take 1 year. And also, let me tell you about some details. We published a call for proposal. It was 2012. No, it was 2020, sorry. We published a call for proposal for eligible grant beneficiaries like municipalities, chambers of commerce, industries, development agencies, NGOs, universities, and they submitted their project to us. We evaluated them, and now we are supporting their projects up to 350,000 euros. They will firstly, they will give NEETs, they will deliver NEETs some vocational trainings and also soft skills trainings. And during these courses, they will also pay pocket money to young people to cover their participation to courses, for example, transportation, meals. So they will, NEETs will receive pocket money, 10 euros per day. And also after this vocational trainings, we consider that NEETs are ready to job search. So their activation process starts here. So after the 4 months duration starts here, as in the youth guarantee schemes of EU countries. What we are doing in these 4 months, we are preparing young people these NEETs and individual action plans. Individual action plan covers how to search jobs, how to reach employment opportunities, and also how to improve themselves. This is like you can consider this a roadmap to reach employment. Our job and vocational counselors are preparing individual action plans, and also we are paying job seekers allowance 50 euros per month. So in one hand we have a methodological way as a roadmap, individual action plans. So on the other hand, we have financial support as job seeker allowance. So in this holistical way, we are supporting young people to reach employment opportunities. As I mentioned before, we are just trying to meet the gap between the school to work transition or inactivity to work transition, both in methodological way and also financial way. These two measures are complementary to each other. And during the job search process, it's 4 months. We are preparing individual action plans monthly basis. So during these 4 months, if the NEETs find a job in ST other than they live, we also give them moving subsidy. It's a one-time payment, about 200 euros. So by this way, we are trying to encourage labor mobility. Here is a grant scheme implementation process. At the first glance, it can be a bit complicated, but we are really get used to this. And also we give this chart to our grant beneficiaries while they're preparing their projects. Now they prepare their projects according to this flow chart, and also now they are implementing according to this flow. Now our grant projects, as I mentioned before, just started. They started at 1st of August. So we don't even have the first results of the grant projects. We are monitoring them and tracking them, supporting them. So during the implementation phase, of course, we will make some evaluations. This was the grant scheme is the way how we support NEETs. On the other hand, we are also supporting and also increasing our institutional capacity to better serve young people. Within the first intervention, we are increasing our institutional capacity. We delivered so many trainings to our staff. But the most important trainings are the individual action plan preparation and also mentorship trainings to our job and vocational counselors, because in many cases we know that young people need much more than counseling, like mentorship. So we trained our job and vocational counselors as a peer of NEETs. So now they are preparing individual action plans, and also their attitude is like a mentorship towards NEETs. And also we prepared an individual action plan and job seekers allowance implementation model that also draws the general framework of how we implement this individual action plan and job seekers allowance. And also we prepared a software to track it. We are organizing study visits. We concluded our first study visit to Latvia and Lithuania. It was last year, and also we have just completed our study visit. It was to Belgium and Netherlands, and also we are now planning our third study visit that will be conducted on the next year. Here is the communication activities, our program. Now we are preparing an outreach strategy, because they are hard to reach, and we need a strategy, a more comprehensive and holistic way to reach out NEETs. So we are just discussing new ways, innovative ways how to reach young people, how to reach NEETs. Even I can say that we are just trying to find like fish worms to attract young people to come to public employment services. And also we are focusing on the communication activities. I will just show some pictures in the next slides. And also we will promote the results and the success stories of the grant projects, because NEETs may help NEETs. Here you see our NEETs truck, İŞKUR yol arkadaşım. I don't know how to say in English. İŞKUR is my roadmate. This is a special design truck visited 15 cities in Turkey. And also in that truck, there are job and vocational counselors serving to NEETs counseling and also career guidance. This is a street approach. You know, it's mentioned in the EU publications. So we reached more than 6,000 NEETs and new registrants to İŞKUR. So they are not inactive anymore. And also here you see some pictures from our videos. These are the people who are succeeded with İŞKUR. They are ex-NEETs. Because it will be more convincing for young people to disseminate the success stories of young people. And this lady is also disabled, but she's still trying to handle with obstacles, she says here. And also this guy is also the medical technician. He get his first job with İŞKUR. So we are just trying to disseminate success stories to attract young people by saying that your peers succeeded that, so you can also succeed. This is one of the way we communicate with NEETs. Within the technical assistance of NEET Pro, we are also conducting some researches. I gave some of the examples of this research. And also we will conduct the evaluation, both the midterm evaluation and ex-post evaluation of grant projects, so that we will gather the information on the implementation of these projects, and so that we can better design the next programs. So this is our program addressing needs in a nutshell. So these are our QR codes of our project. You can follow us. So thank you for your attention.
Merci beaucoup Emre pour cette présentation très intéressante. Et nous reviendrons avec nos questions.
Thank you very much for this presentation, and it was really interesting. And if you have any questions, please write them down. Right now, we're going to continue with Mr. Luis Pinedo CaroResearcher Officer at the International Labour Organization Office of Turkey, and he just had a PhD, and he has a huge experience, especially when it comes to employment of young people. In Turkey, he studied the impact of COVID-19, especially on the labor market, and he's going to share with us his presentation on how to include young migrants in society to prevent unemployment and educate in language skills.
Şimdi. I pressed it. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Well, today I wanted to present a little bit about the history of NEETs in Turkey, but also I wanted to put some emphasis on the gender divide that is in the country, as well as a new challenge that has arrived to this country now more than a decade ago, which is the influx of Syrian refugees. And the new challenge that this has posed from the point of view of NEETs, precisely the topic that we are commenting today. I mean, first of all, I would like you to have a look at the history of the labor market of Turkey in terms of needs, in terms of employment rates. Over here, what we can see is starting in 1985, using data from the census of Turkey. We can see the employment rate in blue, people in education, both for women and for men, as well as the need rate, which is in pink. What we can see is that well, apparently the NEET rate has increased compared to how we were 40 years ago, but this is something that I wanted to comment because from a statistical point of view, I mean, how we measure it is what matters, and the reason why there is this change in the NEET rate is because most people, especially most women, in 1985 used to work in the agricultural sector, and the NEET phenomenon, as my colleague Neil Higgins commented today, is something relatively new. It's a concept that started in the UK in the late 90s, beginning of the 2000s. I mean, it is something that we didn't even think about it a few decades ago. As our employment structure changed, as people went to the cities, as people changed to different jobs, as the societies started to develop further, we found out that there were people that weren't studying, that weren't working, because they were able to afford it somehow, better than in the past, and we started worrying about it. In spite of this, I would like to say, and as it is obvious from the charts, that Turkey has improved a lot in the last decades in terms of access to education for both men and women, but especially for women. And this has also been reflected in their access to the labor market, although perhaps not as much as we would have desired. I would like to compare for how the status of women has changed, young women, between 2002 and 2004 and 2022. Here in the graph, what you can see is for using data from the labor force survey. You can see the age on the lower axis, and you can see the status of the age-specific person, people in Turkey. As they get older. Basically, what these graphs show is that for women, in the past, in 2004, we weren't able to have a successful school-to-work transition. In the sense that we can see when women were age 15, 16, around 60-70% were still in school. But a few years later, when they are expected to join the labor market, what we see is that most of them were becoming NEETs. I mean, basically, of those women who were in school when they were 16, 17, 1 in 4 made it to the labor market. The other 3 ended up as NEETs, away from the labor market, away from education. This has changed. Nowadays, 2022, using the latest microdata available from Turkestat, we have seen that this conversion between the education, between school and the labor market has improved to almost half. And nowadays, of young women who are in education, we can expect at least half of them to join the labor market, and this is a huge success that has happened in recent decades. This is the same story, but for men. What we can see is that more men are in education compared to the past. But in terms of the conversion from school to work, we can see that culturally, most men used to work by the age of 30. Most men are still working by the age of 30. That hasn't changed much. In fact, there is an improvement in terms of how this transition is being done, thanks to the advanced studies many young Turkish people have nowadays. However, we still have attested some problems in terms of skill mismatch. And by skill mismatch, I mean many young Turkish people study in university and end up in jobs that are not related to the field of studies that they were pursuing while in university. But that's a different issue, because this is not an issue related to needs. These people are still working. Now, I wanted to turn to what for the ILO Office for Turkey is a challenge for the country, and is the influx of several million Syrian refugees more than a decade ago. For men, what I am showing here is a comparison of the status in the labor market by age for Syrian men and for Turkish men, with ages comprised between 15 and 34-year-old. Basically, that's the full transition period between education and work. In both cases, most of them end up working, even if there are spells of unemployment in between. Out of need, we know that they will be working at some point. However, what we see is that in terms of education, there are very few Syrian men in higher education compared to Turkish men, and we know that that means in the longer term they will have other problems in terms of social exclusion, in terms of poverty, and that these problems are going to continue in the next generation. But the main point of today's talk is this slide, these two graphs. I mean, these compare Syrian women, young Syrian women in 2022 with Turkish young women. I commented before that there has been a huge improvement for Turkish women, especially in terms of accessing education and in terms of accessing tertiary education. Also in the labor market, not as much as we would have desired, but there has been progress. However, for Syrian women, we observe two problems. One is that, first of all, many of them are not attending secondary education, the latest stages, and their attendance to universities is almost non-existent. When we speak about the school-to-work transition, it doesn't exist. I mean, there is no such transition at all. It's finished from the very beginning. Very few made it to the labor market. And we were wondering in our office why this is happening, if it is a matter of education only, or if there are other variables, other factors that can explain this issue. And that's what triggered a research that we conducted a year ago. We conducted a survey among young people, young Syrians, young Turkish people, where we were asking about their attitudes, their beliefs towards the role of women in society and especially in the labor market. The reason for this is the following. We were trying to compare similar Syrian women and Turkish women. By similar, I mean comparable in terms of education. For instance, we were taking women with primary education born in Syria and women with primary education born in Turkey, and we were comparing the employment rates. And even after doing this, the employment rates were higher among the Turkish nationals than among Syrians. And we were thinking that there might be another factor explaining this, that we would need to work on in order to attract these young people to the labor market and be more successful attracting them. One of the results of this survey is the one that I am presenting here. We were asking young men and young women separately about the role that women should have in the labor market from their own beliefs and perspectives. Just to comment a few examples, we can have a look at one of them, the first one, which is women can engage in certain jobs only. These are statements that were presented to young people, and we asked them, do you agree with them or do you disagree with these statements? And what is shown here is the percentage of people who agree with these statements. We can see that with the first statement, many more Syrians, both surprisingly women and men, tend to agree, around half of them tend to agree that women should only engage in certain types of jobs. While for Turkish people, this percentage is much lower at around 20%. This is not the only example. There is one, a little bit more to the right-hand side, which says women cannot work outside of the household. And what we see is that among Turkish people, very few agree with this statement. They find it is not acceptable, but almost 35% of the Syrian population agree that women shouldn't be working away from home. There are others. I will explain one more example, but they all go in the same direction. And we have on the right-hand side, far right-hand side, women may not work, shouldn't be working, or it's not acceptable to work in my family. My family doesn't accept women to work. Here we see that again, only for 50% of Syrians, for Syrian families, it is acceptable for women to join the labor force, compared to almost 80-90% among Turkish counterparts. I mean, when we look at this, what we see is that there is a huge divide in terms of beliefs, in terms of perceptions between these two social groups, which might explain what we observe in the labor market and the lack of transition from education to work. But this is not the only thing. We were also looking at problems faced by women and men in the labor market. That is, when the few that work, we were asking them, have you encountered any of the following problems at the workplace? And what we see is that women, both Turkish and Syrians, but especially Syrians, tend to encounter way more problems in the labor market than men do. For instance, when we look at emotional violence, we see that around 25% of Syrian women encounter this issue at the workplace, compared to 17% of Turkish women, and compared to around 5% of men, both Syrian and Turkish. When we look at financial abuse, which basically means that the employer will be withdrawing part of the salary or not paying you in full, we find that around 20% of women are encountering this issue compared to around 7-10% of men. Similar issues are encountered about being ignored, but we also find other problems in terms of gender discrimination or even ethnic discrimination, but to a lower extent. I mean, overall, what we concluded is that education alone, I mean, it explains why Syrian women don't join the labor force, because, I mean, obviously, when someone can find a better job, when someone can find a job with higher pay, they will have more incentives to join it. But it's not the only thing. I mean, education is not the only solution. It's a strong one, but there are other things we need to look at, both from the employer side and also from the cultural side. And for the ILO, I mean, our main target nowadays is to find ways to encourage these women to participate in the labor force, to fight these challenges, these barriers, multiple barriers that they encounter. And what we feel is that only tertiary education, even though important, wouldn't be doing the trick completely. It would take a long time. There is also a lack of role models among Syrian refugees. There are very few women in their family who have participated in the labor force that they can compare themselves to. And perhaps we were thinking that a mixed modality, a transition where women can start working from home, and their families can understand that they can also work, that they can also contribute, and that they are as valid as men to do anything they want, could be a start from a transition. And we are also trying to prioritize them in active labor market policies, including the ones that currently the ILO is trying to set up for the earthquake area, as it is an area that is crowded by Syrian refugees. That's it. Thank you so much for your time and attention.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur Pinedo, et merci pour cette...
Thank you, Mr. Pinedo, for your very interesting informations. I think that we have 10 minutes left for questions. I don't know if you have prepared your questions in the room, or I can ask a question to Mr. Pinedo. You spoke about researches you have done in the zones where the earthquake took place. How could the situation deteriorate if some actions haven't been implemented? And do you have an idea about what the ILO Bureau in Turkey is doing? Can you repeat the question in English, but there is a translation?
A recent earthquake in 2023 area, and so how the situation would escalate if no action were taken in the term of labor market and maybe also female needs in this region, and if you had some any example from action that our ILO Turkey is taking.
Merci beaucoup. Indeed, this is a very tricky moment because as a result of the earthquake, many people. Well, first of all, I would like to start from a different stating that the region where the earthquake took place, I mean, is one of the regions of Turkey where the employment rate among women is lowest. That's for starters. On top of that, this earthquake has made employment opportunities even trickier to find. It's even harder nowadays, and there is a risk that the longer women in the earthquake area take to return to the labor market, the harder it will be for them. I mean, there is a risk that the situation that was already not positive in the area with respect to the participation of women in the labor market, it will be even worse. And it will take even longer to recover even the previous levels, the levels previous to the earthquake in terms of employment. In this sense, what we advocate is for a quick recovery of employment levels and a quick engagement of women in economic activities so that they can continue learning skills and continue providing for their households.
Amandine, may I also contribute? Okay, thank you. As Turkish Employment Agency, of course, we also had some emergency plans, emergency action plans for after earthquake. For example, we just started public work programs in where the earthquake affected not only women but also for men. We created jobs for them that will provide them not to be disengaged from working discipline, and also it will provide them also an additional income. So by this way they will be gaining not also social assistance, but also they will earn their money by working, even if they were affected by the earthquake.
Thank you very much to both of you. I think there is a question in the back.
Voilà. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. I am coming from Senegal, and I would like to ask a question to Mr. Pinedo. I have observed in his presentation that there has been an important effort from the point of view of transition school work between 2004 and 2022. I would like to know what have you done? What were the means on which you based yourself? Was it training? training? Was it creation of new employment niches, or was it an improvement of training program? So I would like to know what is the strategy you used to obtain these good results. Thank you.
That should be answered by the Ministry of Education of Turkey and by the Ministry of Employment of Turkey, as they are the ones that are to blame for this success. I mean, I think I shouldn't be answering this question. I'm sorry. Apologies.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Mr. Pinedo. I don't know if İŞKUR knows more about some employment data on this, or if we can go back and answer with some research after.
Okay. Yes, of course, as the Turkish Employment Agency and the Public Employment Service of Turkey, we have so many programs to school to work transition, and also making people active, activate people, the inactive people. So we are also trying to disseminate these success stories by attracting NEETs. So maybe the educational side of is more about our active labor market program. So we are just trying to diversify our programs according to needs of needs, so that we can attract more people by this way.
Thank you very much. If you have any other question, please raise your hand. Yeah, I see in the all way back.
Oh, thank you very much for the presentations. I just have a quick question to Luis. You said that, I mean, you looked at different aspects in terms of the culture, the way women, men and women see, approach, who is entitled to what in the labor market. Now, one thing that maybe I'm wrong, one thing that is sort of a conclusion that I see from there is that, the cultural issues affect, sort of work negatively towards women. But if you look at some of course, this is all data. If you look at the data about, the access to education in Syria, you will see that women tend to be more educated than men. So what I'm wondering is what changes when the women are in, they're out of Syria. I mean, why is it that now it is women that have less access to education? While in Syria, if you look at data from 2011 to 2019, the transitions from school to work, women tend to leave their education at a higher education levels than men. Thank you.
First of all, it is not easy to compare the situation of the pre-war Syria in 2011 with the situation of Syrians in Turkey, because the populations are not comparable. I mean, we don't know who migrated to Turkey from Syria, if it was as a population with less studies or more studies. It is true that in several countries of the MENA region, including Syria, women access to education, especially secondary education, has been one of the successes that has been achieved. However, the same cannot be said generally in terms of tertiary education. And also, we know that in the pre-war Syria, I mean, the participation of women in the labor force was not particularly high either. What has changed from Syria to Turkey I mean, the changes, if any, are negative. I mean, in the sense that now Syrians, many of them don't have the language skills to participate in the labor market under equal opportunities. And they might be facing, well, some difficulties in terms of material means or in terms of lack of family and lack of networks, which are also affecting the participation in the labor market. I mean, normally in the place where you are born, you have a network that can facilitate access to a particular place, a particular job. For migrants, these networks are slimmer, and they are harder to reach, or maybe they are non-existent, and that might also explain why there are more difficulties in Turkey compared to Syria. Thank you for your question.
Thank you very much for the presentations. My question will be to Mr. Emre Yılmaz from Turkish Employment Agency. I first would like to give a remark about the NEETs in Turkey. Mostly there is a kind of like a general perception with regard to their unintention to work in all work opportunities, and they are hard to reach, and because it is also hard. I mean, they are also hard to convince in terms of work opportunities. What I wonder whether any intervention exists in the NEET Pro project with regard to towards the employers, because I think it is also quite much related with the working conditions and also fair in general with regard to fair recruitment, and also the salaries as well as the maternity leaves and paternal leaves and so forth. So in this regard, do you have any kind of intervention towards employers to increase the working conditions in the workplaces? Thank you very much.
Well, actually, NEET Pro is targeting needs, not the employers. But of course, within our national programs, we have so many employer incentives who employ young people. We are covering the social security premiums of employers starting from 12 months to 54 months, so they can benefit from our employer incentives. But within the NEET Pro, we convinced our grant beneficiaries to work with the private sector enterprises, because while giving the vocational training courses to NEETs, they can also make on-the-job trainings during the grant project implementation process, so that they can also grow their own workers. That's the employer side of NEET Pro.
Thank you very much. Yeah, one more question.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, here. My question is for Mr. Yıldız. Actually, I am curious about the field survey that you conducted during the project. Because needs are hard to reach, have you encountered any major setbacks during this field survey? And how did you solve this issue? Because it may help also solving the major problem with reaching needs also.
Of course, it's hard to reach to needs. We always consider this while designing and also implementing our program. Our most important incentive for and to attract needs, it's like a fish farm, it's money. We are giving, of course, it's not one of our measures we are implementing, but it's also a kind of motivational way. The second is our grant scheme is one of the most important outreach implementation. By the grant scheme, we are using the network of our grant beneficiaries, like local actors, like municipalities, NGOs, who are working directly with our target group. So they will reach out to needs that we cannot reach. And also this is both the financial support, attract young people, and also using the network of our partners is our most important and effective outreach strategy to reach out needs.
Thank you. There is also another question. And I think after this one, it will be time to close the day.
The microphone doesn't work.
Si. Alors, j'ai vu sur la présentation.
I saw on the presentation that about communication and communication about visibility. But I think, correct me if I am wrong, it is an institutional visibility. So the project is presented, what has been done, what are the results. Is this communication enough to target these young people? If not, what do you do to target these young people, to attract them, because they are, of course, discouraged to come?
Thank you very much for this question. I would like to correct if I'm misunderstood. It's not a kind of institutional communication. It's just communication to needs, to attract them. We are conducting our communication activities directly targeting needs. So we are trying to use the ways how we can perceive them, how we can convince them to come to public employment services. So we are using also, of course, some institutional aspects, like we are promoting our services. We are also, by the way, by this way, we are both targeting needs, telling them the benefits of our institution. Of course, it can be, of course, while trying to convince young people, of course, we have to tell about our institutional services, so what they will gain by coming to and register to be registered to public employment services. But it's also we can consider it institutional communication, but it's a side effect of our communication activities. Our main target is to attract young people. We are directly targeting them. So what we use to attract them, the most important is social media campaigns, and also we use street approach as a track campaign, and also we are preparing success story videos, and also videos to disseminate, to promotion our services. So what the young people gain to coming to and register to public employment services.